like I've never said that to you ever before.
Okay.
Kate, it sounds like a game show. Kate, what is functional
Come on
nutrition?
down. Oh, functional nutrition is like functional medicine. I mean, my quippy answer would be like, it's magic, because it's amazing what we can do with it. I love it. It's so fascinating. It's so exciting. But it's the idea that we are, first of all, integrating every aspect of a client or a person, from their stress to their sleep to their hormones to their digestive system to their entire health history. So instead of having like one specialist who deals with your endocrine system and one specialist who deals with your GI and one specialist who does this, we try to look at all the pieces together as one to see what the complete picture is. And I know also that in one of your past podcasts on functional medicine, I think it was Nishta, she was talking about we look at a person's health history basically from the day they're born and on, because it can give us puzzle pieces as to how to optimize your health, from the way you're born to where you're born to what the water sources were and all the way up through life, so we can figure out where did the body maybe start to become a little less than optimal, and where can we therefore tweak body systems and adjust kind of what's going on in habits and food or supplements, to optimize a person or to help them get back to health. Because we do believe the body has the ability to heal and to feel great if we just know what's going on and what to do with it. It's not about just masking symptoms with a restricted diet for life or with medications. It's trying to get to the root cause, address it, rebalance it, optimize it, and then set you up for continued sustained success down the road.
Awesome.
So it's a lot of stuff. It's amazing.
This is a game show, so ding, 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 ding. Correct, correct. She got that one correct.
There's the bell.
I've heard you experts say the letters IBS. I believe that is
Yes.
irritable bowel syndrome, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Correct. Ding, ding, ding for you, Sean. Perfect.
for anyone that got that answer wrong, explain irritable bowel syndrome to us.
So irritable bowel syndrome is actually a great kind of example of this, functional versus kind of how typical conventional treatment of it goes. So irritable bowel syndrome is essentially a collection of symptoms within the digestive tract that a lot of times from a conventional perspective, they're like, we're not really sure what's going on, so we're going to call it IBS. It might be IBS with more constipation prone, more diarrhea prone, or some mixed aspects. And I remember when I was first starting to learn about this and talking to a doctor, he's like, well, you know, if you think of your digestive system like an orchestra, you've got your trumpets and your strings and your percussion, but sometimes each of them is doing what they should, but they're just not playing together. And if we can't figure out what's going on, you know, maybe it's in your head or maybe it's just stress, and we can give you like a meditation CD. And that was it. That was the result. Like, you know, again, this was years and years ago. But that was it. It was, we don't know what to do. We'll try different medications, and here's a meditation CD as a last resort. And people were taught to breathe through their IBS problems. But what we're now seeing and what we now know in conventional, or I'm sorry, in the functional world is you've got this incredible tube that goes from your mouth all the way through your body, and there's a myriad of things that we can look at to figure out what went wrong and what we can do about it. And that can be anything as simple as just slow down and actually chew your food. And I've had that help people with reflux before and bloating, to shifting the diet, to let's actually look at what your stomach acid and digestive enzymes are looking at. How's the inflammation going in your body, which is a whole topic we can dive into if you want. That's a huge part of this. Basically, food can cause, even healthy foods can set fire to your body in certain situations. We can see dysbiosis or microbiome issues where there's good bacteria that are too low or bad bacteria that are overgrowing, or I've worked with people with like Giardia or cholera or E. coli, parasites, all these different things. And once we resolve that, the GI feels a lot better. So a whole host of things that we can look at for IBS now.
Yeah, bacteria. We all hear about bacteria as lay people, and that there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and we don't know when to
Yes.
use the word bacterium and bacteria. So both of those.
Plural, singular.
Yeah, exactly. When am I supposed to say what? What is the good bacterium and what is the bad bacterium?
So there's a lot of them. But it is really interesting to see there's certain stool tests we can do to actually get down to like the DNA of what's coming through so we can see what's going on. And there's all sorts of good bacteria that help you create and absorb nutrients that you need. So if you don't have that bacteria in the right amounts, you might not get enough vitamin K, you might not get enough B vitamins. There are certain ones that help just keep the gut integrity in general, that keep the mucosal lining healthy. There are some that help reduce inflammation, all sorts of different things that just help with energy, the nervous system, and more. Because serotonin, for example, a neurotransmitter that a lot of people are familiar with, it's actually made in your stomach, and 95% of it is stored in your GI lining. So when there's problems there, we see anxiety, sleep issues, mood issues as one possible factor to it. So we've got these good bacteria that help support us. They help give us the nourishment that we need. And then if they're too low, we see a lot more problems. And something that's been really interesting and with COVID long haul that I've been looking at a lot is we're seeing long haul COVID completely is like obliterating these good bacteria. And we're seeing that as one of the big problems behind these ongoing issues of inflammation and pain and sleep issues and GI issues and lung issues and anything with itis, vasculitis, arthritis, these kinds of things, that's inflammation. So we're seeing a huge connection there. And then you can have the bad bacteria, and they might increase your risk of autoimmune disease. They can increase the problems of diarrhea, bloating, constipation. They can cause nausea and vomiting in like the short term, but we also see chronic problems. And it just leads to a host of health issues.
So it's bacteria, bacterium, theory, theorem, money, monies. Those are the three. I just say
Monies.
money, and
Money,
I just
monies.
say theory, and I just say bacteria. I don't care about the other part. With the bacteria. Oh, you know what? I read this just the other day too. With the appendix is that organ that we believe we don't
Oh,
need. It goes bad, and we end up tossing it. But I thought I read something, and maybe you can correct me on this, where they feel that the appendix was helping us with vegetation when we used to eat a lot of vegetation, and that it also may store good bacteria. Any of
yeah, it
that
helps with our immune
sound right?
system. Yeah, it's kind of like tonsils, where, as far as I understand, and maybe we'll find some new information soon, but it's basically like, yes, it helps with your immune system, but most of us can kind of survive without it still. It's not the only organ helping with that, but yes, it helps with the immune system.
Yeah, I'm one of those people surviving without it. Uh, and
Ah, a
boy, I
lot of
had
people
my
do.
operation a
I don't
long
have the
time ago.
tonsils, but
Yeah. Oh, good. I still have those. And you got to have one of the two. I feel like.
one of the two, right?
Um,
Okay.
yeah. One of the reasons also why I think it's awesome that you're on here, because you are one of those people that, like I said, don't just talk the talk, you run the walk, but also you had in your recovery, you have this recovery story, back issues and arthritis that you were able to, yeah, you're taking a breath there. Again, you were able to, through your knowledge and through your expertise, to help.
And Sean, I say I sigh because it has been one thing after another for a while, and I don't want to make excuses, but I will say my motivation has been challenged in the past few months, for sure.
Wow.
But it started with back pain issues. I had a lot of back pain when I first graduated, and my first job was a desk job. And I was doing a lot of ultimate frisbee with a lot of sprinting and running, and it was just a lot of impact that got so bad that I couldn't even like shuffle jog across the street if there was oncoming traffic. Like it just hurt to sit, it hurt to stand, it hurt to try to bend over like brushing my teeth, everything. Just, it was so exhausting. I was doing massage therapy, chiropractic, physical therapy, tried acupuncture, taking prescription pain meds just constantly because nothing else was helping. What else? I did some things that were considered like far out there too. I think I had hands-on Reiki, distance Reiki, vibrational healing, chakra healing, because I was desperate. It was 4 years of pain. And then
Wow.
it ended up being some myofascial release and corrective exercise, and within 6 weeks I was running again. But I had previous to that, because everything else was not working, the idea of corrective exercise and posture was not considered, and instead surgery was kind of the next option. And I like, well, wait a second. So surgery, what are you going to do? Oh, we'll shave down your spine a little bit. I'm like, what? Yeah, well, it's pinching a nerve. So we'll shave down the spine so it doesn't pinch as much. I'm like, well, but what happens like in 20 years? Oh, you just deal with that then. So it's very much a Band-Aid fix instead of fixing the problem. And once I started studying like NASM personal training and corrective exercise and myofascial work, I remember the first time I did the myofascial work, I was laying on the floor doing the massage down there, and like the holding of the pressure points as opposed to the movement of massage, like muscle massage. And it was the first time in 4 years I got up off the floor and I didn't have this just crippling pain, and I just started crying like in relief. It was so amazing to finally have figured out what was going on, and that was sort of a trigger to, there's more out there than we're told.
Yeah.
That was one of the kind of the first steps. So fast forward, I did very well with fitness and training. I got into OCRs a little bit more, or got back to OCRs and racing, and just running for fun, just enjoying it, training with people at the gym. And then this past October 2021, then was all excited. I just done a big race, and I was all motivated. Like, I'm going to do great next summer. I'm going to like try to podium for my age group. I'm going to be 40 next year, and nothing's going to stop me. And I'm training, I'm running, and all of a sudden just this pop in my knee, tore a meniscus.
Ooh.
And so just tons of pain. So October was this meniscal tear. November, my training partner and boyfriend had appendicitis. So that like killed our routine. December was the holidays. January, I dislocated a shoulder for no known reason. February, I finally got diagnosed with arthritis, tricompartmental arthritis. And so kind of putting all this together, I was like, it's just been months. Okay, get up again. The doctor said, well, we can't reverse arthritis. I'm like, we'll see. Maybe there, we'll see, but bones heal, torn tendons heal, cartilage can regrow. So I'm going to see. And so I started from March, April, and into May. I was able to increase my running from a half mile without pain up to, I was hitting a 5K on trails. And I was planning to redo my MRI to see, did I just deal with the pain, or did I actually regrow cartilage, regrow some of the bone because of the nutrition and kind of the protocols I was doing. So I was out there May 4th, May the 4th be with you. I was running, I hit a root, and I severely sprained my ankle.
Oh.
Like, just hit it, roll. I felt everything. I crumpled. It hurt so much. And I was like, okay, I have to get up again. I have to heal again. I have to fix this again. Doing all this stuff, really demotivated when I couldn't do it, but I was trying to get back to it. Just in the gym, trying to do upper body, trying to do like foot mobility movement, doing what I could, but I was just kind of half-assing it because I was depressed. I was just frustrated. But finally getting back to it. June rolls around, late June, I'm starting, kind of getting back to the point I can walk on it, starting to run again. July, I get COVID. Laid out for a week. I'm like, oh my gosh, Sean, I felt like I could never catch a break. I was so frustrated. So it was just one thing after another. So here we are, back at the gym, finally. Like I've been there for a couple weeks now. But so it is just this. There was a point, so I told my boyfriend Tyler after the ankle sprain, I said, I'm done. I'm so frustrated. Like my body just, I'm not supposed to run anymore. I'm not supposed to do this anymore. And he just looked at me. He's like, you don't know how to quit, Kate. I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, you're going to bench yourself for a while, but you're going to be back at it because you don't know how to quit. You are way too stubborn. I was like, yeah, you're right. So back at it. I do just enjoy being active, but for me, it was learning like when we know what to do, we can fix these things. We don't always have to do that final thing of surgery. And I'm not saying there's not times where that does have to happen, but I wish we could look at so many other options before we go to that drastic route. Because there was some theory that since I'd had surgery in my knee back in college, that was the same knee that had the torn meniscus again later and the tears and the damage, that already set it up for more failure, structural failure down the road because they went in, they traumatized it, as surgery is, you know, they did what they should and they did a good job, but there is this idea that has lasting implications of weakening that joint down the road too. So last resort should be a last resort.
Yeah. Where are you now physically?
Very out of shape and deconditioned compared to where I want to be, but pain-free. Running, burpees, lifting, you know, getting back to the gym. So it's definitely just a matter of deconditioning. The body, the muscles will ache after a workout very nicely these days, but mobility-wise, everything's back.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out when I want to go back and do another MRI. Since I got so far off my full protocol, I wanted to be very scientific about it and be like, I'm going to do so many days of it and I'm going to write it down and I'm going to track it so that if this works, I can then try to get other people to see if we can replicate this. Because when it came to arthritis, especially, it was kind of shocking, the research I found. There really was good, compelling research to say we can regrow cartilage. We can deal with this. Keith Barr at UC Davis, he's doing a lot of research with NBA players who are tearing tendons, and he's regrowing them without surgery. He's helping them heal it through like collagen and specific loading techniques. There's other research that it's looking to determine which MRI machine is the most sensitive to seeing the collagen growth in knee injuries and other things. So it's not even questioning if we can regrow the cartilage. It's going, which machine is going to help us see it better. So there's a lot out there that just isn't making it into mainstream knowledge, I guess, main information. So it's a really fascinating world, I think.
Yeah, with a lot of the professional athletes, it used to be that any kind of Achilles injury, that was the end of your career, and I think I've been seeing more and more in the sports where they've been able to come back and perform. You know, so they're doing something. What did you do nutrition wise though for your healing?
Oh, so I did sort of a variety of things. I kind of went all in since I was like, I'm not going to dabble. I'm just going to do everything. So there's, first of all, reducing inflammation as much as possible through clean eating. What I work with is a very specialized blood test that's called a mediator release test, and it sort of measures how much our immune system is releasing inflammatory agents when challenged against even seemingly healthy foods. So that was kind of how I chose the foods for my diet, like which ones are causing the least inflammation. Let's put the fire out fast, because there's knee pain, there's swelling, there's inflammation, there's damage. And then it was a lot of collagen is really important with that, making sure it's with a vitamin C source, because we need the vitamin C to better absorb the collagen and get it into the bloodstream, it's looking like. So there's a lot of collagen powders, collagen like bone broths, things like that I was using, and timing it up with the workouts to basically drive it into the tendons and the tissues, because we don't get a lot of natural good blood flow into the tendons. They're not like your muscles or your hair or your skin where blood's just flowing, so you have to kind of drive it in there. Other supplements, there's doing like MSM, glucosamine chondroitin. I think there were a few others. And then just, the anti-inflammatory aspect. So eating good fatty fish, getting omega-3s, a lot of turmeric and curcumin, herbs and spices that are natural anti-inflammatories as well. And that seemed to work, but I would love to have some athletes try this out so we can see if it replicates or if I just got lucky.
So what exactly then was it? Was it supplements that you were taking also? And what exactly was it? Was it carrots that you were eating? Was it was it crustacean, whitefish?
I mean, there were carrots. I would just call it, I typically don't do a lot of dairy. I don't do a lot of gluten. Those are foods that not 100% across the board, but with enough people cause problems and inflammation. And I don't tend to do them much. So it was a lot of, I would do high quality ground beef and steak. So we would do salmon, lots of good chicken, lots of leafy green vegetables, collard greens, kale, spinach, moderate amounts of fruit. I'm not a huge fruit intake person, but I like them in smoothies for sure. So sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, kind of whole foods. I have a whole list I can share with people.
Yeah, you ought to. Yeah.
Kind of anyone I always like, if nothing else, start with this food list for like a week and see how you feel, see if it makes a difference. It's pretty open. It just pulls out common things. So just standard kind of whole foods eating from that list. And then roughly an hour before a workout, I would load the body with the collagen, some of the supplements, then give it time to get into the body, and then try to drive it in with different like range of motion squats and compression work, sometimes running as I got to that to help get it into the joints themselves. And then I would always take a break later in the afternoon, take the second round of the supplements, and then do like home movements for just 6 to 10 minutes. Is all that was recommended in the research I was finding. Like you just need about 6 to 10 minutes to open up the tissues, get those nutrients in there, and then just keep doing that 2-3 times a day. And again, I was running within a couple weeks. So, and then that helped, I believe. Again, I have to say that with that caveat. I haven't gotten to do the MRI to retest, but that helped ease the pain. But that's, again, sort of that idea of what caused it in the first place. It's not just that I wasn't taking supplements. A lot of that comes down to proper form and corrective exercise and making sure, that wear and tear on the knee isn't happening if you're pronating or supinating or, having form issues or bad shoes. So I would encourage anyone else with knee pain, make sure you're ruling all that out too, and you're working with someone to ensure you've got strong feet, strong form, good running stride and all of that too. Otherwise, you're just going to be fighting a battle of supplements and bad form, and you can't out-supplement bad form forever.
Okay, and what is your opinion or expert opinion, on plant-based diets, and what is the best diet for a good gut?
Well, a plant-based diet, I would say plant-heavy is great. If people want to be completely plant-based, like vegetarian or vegan, I don't have problems with that. I just, like anything else, say make sure you're doing it correctly because there are nutrients. We are all at risk of not getting enough. So just being mindful and being educated on it, because it can be harder to get certain things like proper calcium, proper protein, and other nutrients like that, proper iron intake. It's not to say you can't, you just have to make sure you're doing the work. But that's the same if someone who's on just a standard diet, you have to make sure you're getting good variety with your foods, getting everything you need. When it comes to gut health, the start, I think, would be that list I mentioned. I tell people just first, and it sucks, no one wants to hear it, but you just got to start cutting way back on the junk food. So processed sugars, processed grains, sweeteners, alcohol, those kinds of things, just chips and snacks and hot dogs. Not to say that you can't ever have them. I believe the body can be strong enough that you can enjoy them as treats. But I feel like at least 85 to 90% of a diet should be on par as whole foods. And again, so many people do have issues with gluten and dairy that I encourage people to give it a try to remove for like a week or two and just see if it makes a difference. A lot of people will get GI issues, skin issues, brain fog and such, and maybe like sugar cravings and carb cravings from gluten. Not everybody, but a lot. Other people with dairy, we notice a lot more like mucus production or dark under eye circles. GI issues, again, dairy can be hard to digest for a lot of people. So those kinds of things, like just pull it out for a couple weeks and see how you feel. See if it makes a difference.
Give me your top 3 good bacteria, good gut health foods.
Foods. Oh, well.
Because, what we hear again on here, if you get the yogurt, because it has good, depending on which one you get, can have great bacteria. Again, carrot. I don't know. For some reason, carrot is just there.
Carrots are great. So we want prebiotics and we want probiotics. Prebiotics are the foods that the good bacteria eats, and that's where you get a lot of the fiber foods. So vegetables are really good in this. Things like asparagus, garlic and onion are great if you can handle it. If you have IBS, sometimes that's a little rough, but they do feed bacteria very well. So those are some good ones for good gut health. So that's that prebiotic. Basically, fibers are really important. Beans are really good. Legumes. Then you want the probiotic. So that's the bacteria itself, which is where yogurt has done wonderful marketing for that. The lactobacillus is one strain, but essentially anything that we ferment is going to have those good bacteria. So it can be sauerkraut, it can be kimchi, it can be kefir, kombucha. All of those have good natural bacteria in them that can help feed your system. So it's a little more than 3, but how's that?
No, that's great. You can go on forever. if I'll write it down, okay? And because these are things like, because it's hard. When you come to the diet, that's a hard discipline, to give up stuff. And
it is.
Until you feel it working, you're like,
yes.
I got to have that donut,
yes.
know.
Well, and it's so amazing. I used to do these like 7-day challenges on Facebook where I was using that food list and just kind of saying for 7 days, this is all you can eat. You're going to go through a detox on days 3, 4, 5. Just tell your family to leave you alone. You're going to be a little cranky. And assuming no medical issues where we shouldn't be doing this, but and we're going to do this and see where you are in 7 days. And the people were coming back. I'm sleeping better. I'm not bloated. I have more energy. Oh my gosh, I'm not even craving that Dr. Pepper anymore. And it's just amazing. In 7 days, we can begin to see this healing process. And then the more health issues there are, or the longer there have been health issues, yes, it can take longer to kind of rebalance everything, but food's like magic. I mean, food is medicine is a common saying, and it's so true. It's so amazing what we can do with the right nutrients and the right fuel into the body.
Yeah, something that when I was a kid, you are what you eat. Is that true?
Yes.
Is it?
Somewhat. Though we now take it a step further from 2 directions, actually. Maybe so that's 2 steps. So one, not only you are what you eat, but you are what they eat. So, for example, if you're getting plants that are grown in very depleted soil, you're not getting as many nutrients because they haven't been able to eat it. Or if you're getting meat or dairy products from a cow that has been fed cereal versus a cow that has been fed salad, so to speak, your grain-fed versus your grass-fed, that actually changes the nutritional composition of their food. Milk, for example, from grass-fed cows has more conjugated linoleic acid in it, which is actually anti-inflammatory. So it's got more CLA versus kind of conventional factory farm dairy doesn't have that. It has more inflammatory fats in it. So how the food is raised or grown is important, and then you consume. But then it's not just what you eat, but it's how well you can actually digest and absorb that. Because the perfect diet doesn't matter if you can't absorb the nutrients out of it. But kind of going back to that IBS example, people who have to go to the bathroom 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day, they're exhausted because they're not retaining any of that. They're flushing down their nutrition. It's getting flushed down the toilet. So we see that. So it's how the food's raised, what you eat, and then making sure your GI is healthy enough to be able to take all that in.
Okay, so now, great stuff. When you're working,
I feel like I could go anywhere. It's like there's so much, and it just fascinates me everywhere.
I know, and I feel like I'm just throwing questions from because I keep thinking of this when you're talking. I'm like,
Exactly.
what about this? What about this? When you're working with athletes, what is the most common thing that athletes are looking to get from you?
Oh gosh, it really sort of depends why they come. I definitely don't market myself as, hey, we're going to take your nutrition and just tweak it to make you like. We don't get down to specific like macronutrients and timing and all that. So when I get like super elite, I'm like, we're doing this on your off season because we're kind of scrapping things and rebuilding from the foundation up. So a lot come just going, I just want to kind of optimize my energy, optimize my nutrition, make sure things are working. But a lot of them are coming because they've got those GI issues. I've worked with Spartan coaches, OCR therapists, marathon runners, triathletes, and they come for a variety of different issues, like cramping mid race, or just that they've got the Crohn's disease, or they're on various medications that they're trying to see if they can safely wean down from. I'm kind of getting off track because I went somewhere. What was the original question? Why do they come to me?
Yeah, because athletes, you work with athletes, and what is it that they're looking for? I mean, because when I'm thinking, you say you work with athletes, I'm thinking, again, part of their training, they're like, okay, how can I be stronger without taking steroids? Or where can I get that naturally?
Yeah.
How can, like you said, all of a sudden on that day that I need to perform, I don't have some irritable things going on in my gut. How can I have that energy and sustain it, in the middle of the night at World
Yes.
Toughest Mutters, when I've depleted all my energy? What's the best thing to have then for that? There's a lot of stuff I threw at you right there.
Yeah. Usually what I do is we kind of scrap it, start with the foundation. We run labs. That's usually where I go with that. If they're already eating pretty clean foods kind of thing and not just doing junkies, then we go like, let's just test. Let's personalize this to you. We're going to do that mediator release test, figure out which foods your body likes the most to calm down the fires, whatever's going on. And usually we do a stool test as well to look at the microbiome, and that's kind of our foundation. Like, let's put out all the fires that are going on in your body from just life, from stress, from bad sleep, from high training loads. Let's make sure your gut is optimized, that you're digesting, that you've got the good bacteria in the right ratios, that there's no little pathogen or any parasite that you've picked up through life. And we start there. And then we also can, depending what their goals are and what they want, we do like nutrient profiles to look at, how are these nutrients in your body, especially if you've had GI issues for a while and you haven't been absorbing all that. How are your B vitamins? How are your fatty acids? How are all your amino acids looking? And make sure we're optimizing those levels. And I've had a couple, especially females, we get into hormones after that. It starts with the gut and inflammation, but then we build into hormones, because I had, she was a 23-year-old who lost her period when she was in college, partly because she was a high training athlete, but she thinks partly because it hurt to eat. It hurt her stomach so much to eat that she couldn't get the calories she needed. So we needed to kind of figure out what was going on with her hormone cycle, what was going on with her GI, so that she could start to eat without pain, so she could get enough nutrition to get her hormones back to a healthy cycle where they should be. And we were able to do that with all these labs to kind of look down, what is that root cause? So that's, I guess I would typically say I work with athletic people who have some issue that they can't figure out.
Yeah. And once
and they want
again,
to optimize.
yeah, you being an athlete yourself, I just psychologically, we just, anybody like me and people that I know, you tend to listen to people that are experiencing these things themselves, when it comes to
Yeah.
health and all that. So you got that going for you. What I always like to ask my guests about where they grew up, what was life like when they were a kid. So, little Kate, tell us about little Kate. Where were you born and raised, and what was life like for little Kate that got
Oh,
her
little
interested
Kate was a
in gut
hellion.
health?
I mean, it probably started with liking poop jokes and fart jokes at the table as a kid. I don't. My mom couldn't stand it. Actually, here you'll love this. Okay, I know not everyone can see this for a podcast, but here's a mug I was gifted for Christmas. It's a
Coffee
giant coffee mug.
makes me
Coffee
poop.
makes me poop. I have a closet full of poop related things because I don't go seeking it. These are gifts I keep getting from people. Um, and I'll post on Facebook now and then, like, hey guys, haven't asked in a while, how's your poop today? Because we can learn so much from it. And I like to take it all with some humor because it can be an uncomfortable topic. So let's normalize it. But no, so as a child, I was a middle child, very stereotypically middle child, troublesome antagonist, I am told my parents thought early on I should be a lawyer because I would logic my mother into a corner where she felt like her only response was because I'm the mother and I say so. And she hated that. She hated that she could not have a discussion and that I would trap her with it. So there was always kind of a curiosity, always kind of a questioning why things were and refusing to kind of do things unless I understood why it was the way it was. I grew up enjoying science. I actually started college for nursing, had no idea what dietetics was, had no idea the role nutrition played in our world other than, if I eat things that are a little bit better, that's supposed to be good than if I'm eating pizza and candy bars all the time. But that was really kind of it. And I took a nutrition class in college just as a kind of an easy credit, I thought, and I was blown away at kind of how, again, magical, as I said, it's magic. All this stuff, if you have vitamin E, it helps your immune system. If you have this, it helps that. Your hair, skin, and nails all need these nutrients, and your bones need this. And it's just like, wait, what? It's like this magic code. If we do this stuff, we can have this great health, that we can just affect everything in the body. I was not loving nursing. I hated needles. I hated the idea that I would have to deal with needles enough to get comfortable with it, because that's what I was told. Oh, you'll get over that. No, I don't want to. I jumped around majors for a while. I actually landed for a while in forensic science because, again, I loved these puzzles. I loved the science behind it. But in the end, wound up in dietetics and nutrition. And even then, had no idea how far it could go. Even as a registered dietitian with the degree, with the internship, with the testing and the registrations that we have to do, it was just, as time went on and I learned how much deeper it could go. And it was actually, my now ex-husband, he had IBS, and that was sort of what triggered me to start learning, because there was a summer he went from a very healthy, about 175 pounds at 6 feet tall, 6'1", and dropped down to about 130 pounds in one summer. And so he was like skin and bones, and we were very nervous and worried and seeing these doctors. And that's where we got that orchestra analogy, where it's just things don't work and there's not much we can do. And, I was like, that's not good enough. That's absolutely not good enough. And started learning more, started learning about functional medicine, functional nutrition, started learning about these different labs and how they worked and all the things that could be going on. Found out he had like SIBO, he had these pathogens. He might have had heavy metal toxicity and all these things that were reasons his GI wasn't working. So that was a long path, but that kind of kick-started a lot of this specific direction into gut health, just because it's what I was learning and using for a loved one, and it's kind of just grown from there.
Yeah. Wow. I can't let you get out of here without what does good poop look like? What does bad poop look like? How do you read?
Oh my goodness!
How
I
do
love it,
I
Sean.
read poop?
Well, there is a Bristol stool chart, and I don't know how to get a visual to your audience sometime, but I've got them. Essentially, we rank things on this Bristol chart from 1 to 7. 1 meaning it's really hard, little like rabbit pellets. 7 being it's basically water. And neither of these are good, and there's different reasons we see that. So what we want, the ideal, is what we call a Bristol 3 or 4, where it's soft, it's well formed, it's kind of a complete elimination when you go, and it's not too messy. And it shouldn't strain when you do it. And you should ideally have as many as 1 to 3 of these nice, solid, well-formed, but not painful movements per day.
What? 3 times?
Yeah, some people. I put a little question mark at the 3 to depend. Some people who are much more active and or intake a lot more calories might have to do 3 a day. So that one depends. But yes, conventional medicine says as long as you go once every 3 days, you're fine. But we find that very much is not the case in a lot of situations, because that is how your body eliminates byproducts. So hormones are one of those examples. If you aren't flushing out the used up hormones every day, that's one way that assembly line will kind of bottleneck. Essentially, like sex hormones or thyroid hormones, if your body can't flush out the used up byproducts, it can sometimes go, hey, we're bottlenecked, we're going to stop up this assembly line and not make as much because you can't get rid of it fast enough. So we definitely see estrogen issues, estrogen dominance, female cycles get messed up, sometimes testosterone levels. So yeah, 1 to 3, Bristol 3 to 4 per day.
Okay, so then the runny poop that looks like that emoji, that's not a healthy poop, is it?
The emoji, I've seen if I have an emoji nearby. I do. I have a pillow. It's a mint emoji. Correct. Yeah. If it's really soft, sometimes that tells us either it's moving too quickly. Even if it's not full on diarrhea, like full on wet, if it's moving so fast that your body's not pulling as much water out of it as it should, and so it's really kind of soft and soft serve like, that means you might not be getting enough water, hydration. But more than that, it usually means you're not getting enough of the vitamins and minerals and nutrients you need, because it's not staying in your small intestine long enough for that absorption to occur. Or it could be related to inflammation. So if there's little inflammation and your immune system essentially is over responding to some stressor on it, then that is another common reason we see loose stool. Certain medications, not enough sleep. What else can we see? Bad bacteria, the gut microbiome, if it's off, that can lead to excessively soft stool. Sometimes it's just not enough of the right fibers. So sometimes it can be as simple as diet. I think what else? I'm sure there's more. That's a good list.
Yeah, that is a good list. How long should you sit on the toilet? I don't know if this is like in your wheelhouse, but
yeah, you've got some cool and interesting questions. Put me on the spot. I might not ding the points on this one. I don't know. I guess I don't know that I've seen official research on that.
So somebody needs to.
But I would think you should know when it is time without it being immediate. Not like, hey, I'm fine. Oh crap, I got a crap. But going, hey, it's coming, and then be able to go, and normally I'd say within just a couple minutes. People who sit there for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, I go, one, are you straining and we're going to risk problems? Two, are you just trying to hide from people and you're scrolling on your phone? Or three, is it just you weren't actually ready? And then there's a whole thing we could get into about like the squatty potties, and our actual form when we go to the bathroom isn't really ideal, but that's
Oh, really?
another
Why?
thing too. Oh.
I know. I know.
Like, I love, you are interested. I love it. I could, like I said, I could talk all day, but I know it's a strange topic for many.
Yeah.
So if you've ever traveled to, oh goodness, India, China, a couple Asian countries, you will see what are called like squatty potties. The original squatty potties, essentially, it's like a hole in the floor, and you just separate, you step over it, and you drop down into like an ass to grass kind of squat, and you go. And that deep bend is actually ideal for our bowel movements.
Okay, so what I'm visualizing is the end of a squat, like if you're exercising and you're down like that.
Down,
Yeah.
Ass to grass, not the 90-degree squat where thighs are parallel. It should be drop down, deep squat, where you're kind of sitting there and just relaxing into it. But for multiple reasons, one, most Americans aren't that flexible to hold a squat like that.
That's hard.
It is hard. We have very weak posture when it comes to that. A lot of like shin muscles we don't have. But then too, our toilets aren't made that way. So we get in this 90 degrees, feet up, 90 degree from the knee to the hips, 90 degrees hips and up. And that is not as conducive for this smooth movement. So that's where the squatty potty invention was, where I think that there might be other names for it, but that's the one I first heard of. But it's basically like a little stool that you would put under the toilet to kind of prop the feet up and try to help make a little more of that zigzag shape from ankle, knee, hips, shoulders. So that's another theorem behind why sometimes movements don't happen as easily.
So crapping in the woods may be healthier for you than at your house.
Yeah, dig that hole, drop it down.
Yeah.
Hold on to a tree if you don't have the strength to like hold yourself there, and get way down.
Okay, so
booty to the ground.
So two more, and I'll let you get out of here. We're gonna have to have you back on again because there's a lot we didn't cover, and we're getting to the nitty gritty of this stuff. Okay, one, the color of your bowel movement of your poop. What does that say? What is it telling you? When it's green, it's this. When it's dark, it's this. If it ever comes out red,
Well, so first of all, rule out beets. That'll make your stool look kind of red purple. Okay. So that can do it. Certain medications can change things as well. But as a kind of a generalization, you want sort of a medium to dark brown. When we see really light, like white or yellow, that can be a clue that your gallbladder or the bile isn't working appropriately. If it's green, that could be blood, could be an infection, could be food. Really, really dark might just be dehydrated. That's different causes. It could be blood in the stool too, if it's kind of like a black and tarry look. So it should be kind of Tootsie Roll-like.
Tootsie Roll.
Tootsie Roll.
Yeah. I think when they send you that test now that you have to poop into that thing, and I think they said if it's really dark, that's like a bad sign or something. I don't know. Sometimes,
and it would depend what we find in it. And the one I use is called a GI map test, and it lets us see not only the good and bad bacteria and potential worms, yeast infection, like candida yeast we get to test, protozoa. Then we also get to see, like, is there blood in the stool? Is there fat in the stool? Because we shouldn't see either of those. How are digestive markers looking? Does the gallbladder seem like it's working okay? Are we processing out those hormones appropriately? There's something we can check for that. What sort of inflammation is there? So lots of cool stuff from that lab that can give us, again, sort of that foundation overview picture of a lot of aspects.
And once again, whatever you find in there, if it's good, if it's bad, we may be able to fix it. with good gut
Oh,
health,
absolutely.
we can
Yes.
get you back on
Yes.
track. Your poop
We.
can float. I heard floaters are good.
Oh, wait. Best of my knowledge, as long as it's not because it's so oily, it just usually means there's a little more air in there.
Okay, so whatever with that, and this may not be in your expertise. I'm really dragging this out, but what's this thing with people saying your own urine is good for you? Do you have any expertise on that?
Sean, are you sure you want me coming back?
We can talk about that the next time. We can find out. You do a complete investigation.
I would have to do I have heard it's sterile. I do not drink my own. I would never recommend it to anyone. I'd have to look into that to speak anymore.
There are people that swear it's a miracle drug.
I've heard that. I don't know enough to know.
All right, Kate, you do that investigation. I'm going to have you back on. We'll talk about that. Because also, we didn't talk about how, and I believe you touched on it, how your gut health helps you mentally also. So,
Oh goodness,
yeah,
yes.
so we can come back and talk about
Mind-gut
that.
connection,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I love talking to you. It's fun.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I know there's been some research, especially for athletes, on that because of like the jitters before a race and how that affects the gut and long-term running, and if you're nervous and how to change that up and ways to get through that. So that's kind of cool research coming out these days too.
Cool. You'll come back and talk about that then?
Happy to.
Okay, so before you
Yeah.
get out of here, of course, I have my two questions that I ask of my guests.
Yes.
The first one is a quote that was passed down to me by a gentleman named Craig. The story is I got to visit Craig in the hospital just before he passed away of cancer. His family was telling me how he took this quote. It became a motto for him when he got that last diagnosis, actually when he was going through his battle with cancer. And he passed it on to me. I took it to the Mutters, and over the years, they made it so popular. You're a Mutter, so I'll put you in there. They made it so popular, it actually became a song by Darius Rucker. And the quote is, "When was the last time you did something for the first time?" So what was it? When was it, Kate?
Well, it's nothing profound, but I think that I recently just got back from a trip in Sag Harbor, New York, Long Island area, and I got to do a sunset cruise, and it was just magical. We got to see a double rainbow, and we had these amazing sunsets and colors. So I love nature, so that was a very beautiful and powerful thing for me to get to see and experience. So I love experiencing life.
Perfect segue to my last question. So you're out there in nature, feeling all that beauty. You look down and there's a lamp. What do? You pick it up and do what everybody does with a lamp. Wipe it off. Out pops me, the genie in the lamp. Been in there for millions and trillions of centuries. So happy that you freed me. Kate, I'm not going to give you 3 wishes. I'm going to give you the ultimate gift. I am going to give you, in this moment, the undivided attention of the world. Right now, the world stopped. Everybody stopped. Kate's about to say something. What do you say to the world in this moment, Kate?
I have so many poop jokes going through my head right there. I'm like, I just need a sound effect right there as you set that up for that perfect sound effect because of the conversation we just had. But on a more serious note, I really would love people to understand that especially if they're struggling with some sort of chronic issue, fatigue, GI issues, whatever it is, that there is hope, that there are answers. Yes, it can be a journey trying to find all the puzzle pieces and put them together. But when you do, you can feel so amazing. We don't have to use this, "Oh, I'm just getting older," as a reason that our knees hurt or a reason that we're more tired. We can get to the body and heal it and optimize it and just make everything click better and feel so much better if you're just willing to put in a little curiosity and a little work to it.
Awesome. Okay, definitely we'll have you back. And thank you for this. And have your top 5 poop jokes ready the next time.
I will bring the dad jokes.
All right. Miss Marion,